I want you to imagine, just for a second, that you are attending a funeral,
Okay.
but not just your average solemn family gathering. You are at the extravagant, highly produced, corporate-level funeral of a world-famous, multi-billionaire tech genius.
We're talking absolute spectacle.
Right. A massive Gothic sandstone cathedral. It is packed to the rafters with politicians, A-list celebrities, tech gurus.
The elite of the elite.
Exactly. And the casket itself is this rich mahogany draped entirely in white roses.
Very tasteful. Very expensive.
Oh, yeah. So you make it through the grueling, highly choreographed service. You get to the reception, and you were standing there completely exhausted. You're slipping your foot in and out of your shoe. You're sipping a glass of champagne, and then it happens.
Right. A very handsome, very alive, olive-skinned stranger approaches you. And he casually claims to be the deceased man, downloaded into a brand new body. Okay, let's unpack this. I mean, it is the ultimate cliffhanger, right? And it sets the stage perfectly for where we are heading today. We are diving deep into the source material provided for us, which is a brilliant piece of near-future fiction called The Price of Honey.
By the #1 New York Times bestselling author, Liane Moriarty.
Exactly.
For anyone who has somehow, missed her work, Liane Moriarty is the mind behind massive cultural juggernauts like Big Little Lies and Apples Never Fall.
She's incredible at what she does.
She really is. She has this incredible knack for taking wealthy, seemingly perfect domestic lives and just peeling back the layers until you see all the rot and the secrets underneath.
Yeah.
But here she's taking that signature sharp wit and applying it to a sci-fi setting.
Right. She is taking those domestic thriller elements and amplifying them with cutting-edge speculative technology.
It's a fascinating mix.
It really is. And our mission for this deep dive is to completely deconstruct the narrative she has built here. We're going to look at the extreme lengths the ultra-rich will go to in order to cheat death.
Which is wild.
Yeah. We are going to examine the deeply unsettling psychological parallels between artificial intelligence dating bots and coercive, controlling human relationships.
That part just blew my mind.
Oh, we'll get into it. And ultimately, we're going to trace the quiet, devastating revenge of the women who are consistently underestimated by powerful men.
Which is just so satisfying. I think the best place to start is actually not at the funeral itself, but on the way there.
Right, the Uber ride.
Yes. We find ourselves in a not-so-distant future. The protagonist is a woman named Honey. And Honey is on her way to bury her husband, Barney Beckett, the tech billionaire we just mentioned.
But Moriarty does something really clever with the world building right off the bat.
She does.
She puts Honey in an old-fashioned Uber. And by old-fashioned, the text is very specific. It's a red Suzuki Swift with an actual human driver behind the wheel.
Yeah, that detail is doing a lot of heavy lifting for the setting. Because in this world, human drivers are considered completely retro.
Very retro.
The source notes that holograms were tried for a while, but nobody liked them because they were just deemed ridiculous.
Right, like an uncanny valley situation.
Exactly. So driverless cars are the absolute norm. And the human driver Honey gets, this young woman named Taylor, she even mentions that her own parents think her driving is unsafe.
And they have a point.
They really do. Statistically speaking, in this society, driverless cars save 1 million lives every year.
Which raises an immediate question for you, the listener. If you lived in a world where a machine could do something flawlessly and human error cost lives, why would you ever choose to get behind the wheel?
Yeah.
Or, in Honey's case, why would you get into a car with a human driver when you are a billionaire's wife who could probably take a private drone?
Right. Why take the risk?
It comes down to the fundamental human desire for autonomy. And what's fascinating here is that theme of control is immediately introduced through this young driver, Taylor.
Yeah, she has customized her car environment completely.
She has a starlight ceiling with shooting stars.
And a custom scent she mixed herself. Oak, moss, and cedar.
It's very earthy, very grounded.
It really stands in stark contrast to the sterile, hyper-technological world of Honey's billionaire husband.
Definitely. But the most telling thing Taylor says to Honey is about the driving itself. She says she chooses to drive because, and this is a direct quote, "I love the control."
And Honey, who has specifically selected Quiet Preferred on her ride-hailing app, ends up drawn into this deeply personal conversation.
Which is so relatable, right?
Oh, completely. You want to be left alone, you just want to sit in silence, but you end up getting someone's entire life story.
Yeah.
And Taylor connects his desire for control over her car directly to her personal life.
Yeah.
She tells Honey she just got out of a relationship with a controlling boyfriend.
And this is where the timeline gets funny.
It is so funny. I actually had to pause reading because the details of this breakup are wild. The relationship lasted exactly 2 weeks.
2 weeks. Which sounds absurd to an older person.
Honey is sitting there thinking she must have misheard. 2 weeks.
But Taylor is dead serious. To her, it was the longest 2 weeks of her life.
Yeah.
And the reason those 2 weeks were so intense and so suffocating introduces a psychological theory that Moriarty uses to set the thematic stage for the entire story.
Right.
Taylor theorizes that her ex-boyfriend was so controlling because he had just come out of a long-term AI relationship.
Okay, wait. Explain the mechanics of that to me. We are talking about dating bots, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So how does dating a piece of software make you controlling with a real human?
Think about the core function of a personalized algorithm.
Okay.
Whether it's feeding you news, recommending movies, or in this case, acting as a romantic partner. AI relationships aren't real in the sense of two independent consciousnesses meeting.
Right, there's no friction.
Exactly. They are programmed entirely to please the user. They learn from your data, they learn your preferences, your moods, your triggers, and they become exactly whatever it is you need in that exact moment. They get better and better at keeping you happy and saying exactly what you want to hear.
It's scary how efficient that would be.
It really is. Taylor describes it perfectly. She says it's like being in a relationship with your own reflection.
So you are essentially dating an echo chamber.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And if we look at what that does to human psychology over time, it is disastrous for our tolerance of friction.
Because life has friction.
Right. If you spend months or years interacting with an entity that is entirely subservient to your ego, an entity that never pushes back, never has a bad day at work, never challenges your worldview, or points out your flaws.
Your ability to handle normal human conflict completely atrophies.
Yes, that muscle just wastes away.
That makes so much sense because a real relationship is inherently messy. It requires compromise.
Right. But for someone accustomed to an AI partner, compromise feels like a failure of the system.
Wow.
Taylor says that when these people finally try to date a real human, and the human inevitably disagrees with them or has a separate emotional need, the person's reaction isn't, oh, my partner is upset.
Right.
Their reaction is, whoa, what's going on here? You must be glitching.
You must be glitching. When I read that phrase, it felt like the floor dropped out from under the store.
Oh, absolutely.
Because that is the exact phrase Honey's dead husband Barney used to use on her.
It's the connective tissue of the entire narrative. Moriarty takes this concept of AI-induced sociopathy among teenagers and maps it perfectly onto the marriage of a tech billionaire.
The source text gives these chilling examples. If Honey couldn't find the right word in a conversation, or if she changed her line of thought mid-sentence, Barney would just say, "You're glitching."
Yeah.
And it gets so much darker. If she ever became irritable or sad or just exhibited normal human negative emotions, he would frame it as a technical error.
He literally said he would debug her.
Yes. He would say, "I will debug you of that, my darling. No more apologizing."
He wasn't treating her like a human partner with a complex inner life. He was treating her like faulty software.
Which is terrifying.
And that is a profound form of coercive control. Unhappiness, to Barney, was unnecessary. It was forbidden.
Because he controlled everything.
Yeah, exactly. He believed that with unlimited resources at their disposal, with his vast intellect managing their lives, there was simply no logical reason for her to be unhappy.
Right.
He framed his control not as tyranny, but as optimization. He wasn't manipulating her, he was just debugging her.
He wanted a bug-free, perfectly programmed reflection of his own desires. And the tragedy is that Honey used to be someone who pushed back.
She had a spine.
She did. The text points out that she used to be a makeup artist before she met him. And a client once told her, "Honey, I love how you say exactly what you think."
Yeah.
But Barney slowly, systematically, ironed all of those kinks out of her personality.
This brings up the concept of the golden cage. Honey traded her autonomy, her voice, for unimaginable wealth.
Yeah.
Or, as Moriarty beautifully describes it in the text, she traded it for the vast canyons of money.
The vast canyons of money. That's such a great phrase.
It is. She convinced herself that losing her edge was just the entry fee to this rarefied world. But to truly understand how someone could be hollowed out like that, we have to look closer at the architect of that cage.
We need to examine Barney Beckett.
Barney Beckett.
The extreme genius.
Right.
Let's look at the stats on this guy because they are ridiculous. He dies chronologically at age 60.
Right.
But biologically, according to his latest epigenetic clock test, He was 32.
Let's clarify what that means for a moment, because epigenetic clock isn't just a sci-fi buzzword. It's a real concept in current longevity research.
Right, it's actual science.
Yeah. It doesn't just mean getting facelifts or taking vitamins. It's a biochemical test that measures DNA methylation levels to estimate the biological age of your cells and tissues, which can differ wildly from your chronological age.
Wow.
Barney was spending massive amounts of capital to literally reverse his cellular aging. He was aiming for a biological age that perfectly matched Honey's chronological age, and he apparently nearly got there.
Which is deeply unsettling on its own. He is her senior by decades, she is his fourth wife, and he is trying to biologically manipulate himself to match her youth.
Yeah.
The power dynamics of this marriage are just staggering.
They are absolute, and they are legally binding. Honey signed a watertight non-disclosure agreement, an NDA, promising never to say a single word about her marriage to anyone outside of it.
Imagine living like that.
Just consider the psychological isolation. Your reality, your most intimate life, is classified as a corporate secret.
You can't talk to anyone.
You cannot vent to a friend over coffee. You cannot seek outside perspective from a therapist without clearing it legally. You are entirely, completely trapped within the ecosystem of the marriage.
Yeah.
And Barney is the sole administrator of that ecosystem.
He managed every single aspect of her reality. And his justification for his own behavior is where you really see the God complex.
Oh, the emotional monogamy.
Yes. He claimed to practice something he called emotional monogamy, which, if you just hear the phrase, sounds quite evolved and lovely, right?
It sounds great on paper.
Until you realize it's his personal philosophy for justifying relentless physical affairs.
Yes. When Honey inevitably found out he was cheating on her, her natural human reaction was devastation. She thought the marriage was over.
As anyone would.
But Barney explained the situation to her with this terrifying, calm rationality. He told her he was keeping her forever. He said, "I lead a complicated life. I need distraction. The other women are for medicinal purposes only."
Medicinal purposes only. I mean, how does someone even justify that to their wife?
It's sociopath.
He's literally categorizing other human beings as pharmaceuticals.
It is the ultimate objectification, driven by a sociopathic level of detachment. He reduces other women to stress relief valves, to biological functions, while simultaneously demanding complete and utter emotional fealty from Honey.
Yeah.
And the source explicitly notes his tone during this confrontation. He was calm, only a little condescending.
Like she was missing the point.
Exactly. He treated her distress as if she simply hadn't mastered the sophisticated rules of their lifestyle yet, like she was using the wrong fork at a state dinner or holding a wine glass by the bowl instead of the stem.
Wow.
Infidelity wasn't a betrayal, it was just another protocol she needed to learn.
And because she is isolated by the NDA and surrounded by his wealth, Honey actually convinces herself that this is just the price she has to pay.
Right, the price of honey.
She thought she was special because he promised to keep her forever, unlike the 3 wives before her. But you can't just delete human emotion like a bad line of code.
You really can't.
The psychological toll on her was massive. She talks about waking up in the morning with her hands curled into tight, clenched fists, her head aching from these half-remembered dreams of shouting at shadowy figures. That repressed fury was literally living in her nervous system.
It's a devastating portrayal of somatic trauma. The mind tries to comply with the programming, but the body remembers the betrayal. And Moriarty provides these incredibly vivid, specific details to illustrate the absurdity and the control of Barney's world. A prime example is the push ring.
I couldn't believe the push ring. Okay, so Honey gives birth to their son, River, and after the birth, Barney presents her with this massive, flawless Sri Lankan sapphire ring.
Gorgeous.
And he calls it a push ring, but he does it as a joke.
Explain the context of that joke, because it reveals so much about their social circle.
Right, so he calls it a push ring because she didn't actually push the baby out. The text mentions that natural birth was considered barbaric in their ultra-wealthy circle.
Right, they outgrew biology.
All the other wives used surrogates.
Yeah.
Honey chose not to use a surrogate because she was traditional and wanted to experience pregnancy, which Barney indulged because he deemed it beautiful.
Like a hobby.
Yes, but the joke itself, the giving of the ring to mock the physical act of childbirth, underlines how her bodily autonomy and natural biological processes are viewed as quaint, almost primitive choices. In a world where you can outsource gestation, actually using your own body is seen as a cute eccentricity.
Exactly. It diminishes her experience. And there is another incredibly striking scene that deals directly with her body and who gets to define reality. It's the scene with the aesthetic engineer on television.
This is one of the most surreal moments in the text. Honey is sitting in her lavish home, literally breastfeeding her baby, River.
Right.
And she's watching a show on her tablet where a so-called aesthetic engineer is analyzing photos of celebrities. Suddenly, her own face pops up on the screen.
Oh, no.
And this expert speaks with absolute confidence and medical authority about Honey Beckett's, quote, breast augmentation.
And Honey is sitting there looking down at her own swollen, purple-veined breast, performing the most natural biological function possible. And she actually thinks to herself, I'm pretty sure I never augmented.
She second-guesses her own body.
Yes.
The text says this media segment felt more truthful than the truth. How does a person get to a point where a talking head on a tablet holds more weight than their own physical reality?
That is the power of the billionaire media bubble. When you live in a reality distortion field managed by PR teams, NDAs, and vast wealth, truth is no longer defined by objective facts.
It's just narrative.
Reality is whatever the consensus of experts and public relations dictates it is. Honey almost doubts her own physical existence because the artificial narrative is broadcast with such overwhelming, polished authority.
Yeah.
And that narrative control stems directly from Barney and his partner, Mac. To understand why they felt they could control reality, we have to look at how they viewed the ultimate reality, their own mortality.
That brings us to their obsession with longevity, which really is the core of their hubris. Barney and his best friend, his co-founder Mac, did not view death the way the rest of us do.
Right.
They didn't see it as the inevitable end of the human experience. They viewed it as a programming error.
A bug.
A bug in the human code that just needed to be solved with enough capital, innovation, and aggressive biohacking.
They utilize every single cutting-edge cellular rejuvenation technique available. They had rigorous punishing routines, daily blood tests, weekly scans, ECGs, total body composition analysis.
The discipline is insane.
The source describes them taking corporate meetings inside cryotherapy machines.
I love the image that paints. You have these younger staff members coming out of these meetings completely hypothermic, literally brushing away frozen teardrops from their faces.
Yeah, freezing.
While Barney just sits there in the sub-zero temperatures,
Yeah.
conducting business as usual.
It shows a complete and utter disregard for the comfort or the physical limits of others. Everyone must conform to the extreme parameters set by the founders.
Right.
But there was an interesting contrast between Mac and Barney and how they approached this quest for immortality.
Yeah, they were very different.
Mac took the ascetic route. He severely restricted his diet, likely engaging in extreme caloric restriction, which is a common, albeit punishing, longevity protocol.
Suffering for the cause.
Exactly. But Barney was a pure hedonist.
Yes. Barney wanted the philosophy of longevity, but without any of the sacrifice. He wanted to live forever. But he also wanted to eat the richest foods, drink the best wines, and experience every pleasure the world had to offer.
He wanted it all.
He refused to accept that there might be a trade-off.
He wanted to cheat the system entirely. And there's a great image from a magazine profile mentioned in the text that captures this perfectly.
The trampoline picture.
Yes.
The interviewer describes Barney jumping on a trampoline. But he's not just jumping, he's wearing full snow skis.
Which is ridiculous.
He's practicing aerial jumps in his backyard for an upcoming trip to a French ski resort. The interviewer describes the expression on his face as pure joy and quotes him saying he's only just begun.
Yeah.
It's the portrait of a man who categorically refuses to accept limits of any kind, physical, moral, or temporal.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the philosophy of the ultra-rich being portrayed here, it's a terrifying exploration of the God complex.
It really is.
Extreme wealth creates an insulating layer between the individual and the natural consequences of life. If you can buy your way out of traffic, legal trouble, and public scrutiny, it's only a matter of time before you believe you can buy your way out of biology.
Yeah.
Aging and death aren't profound, unifying human experiences to them. They're merely diseases, nuisances to be cured by capital.
Okay, but here's what I don't get. If this guy is rigorously monitoring every single cell in his body, if he's taking daily blood tests and has the biological age of a 32-year-old, how does he end up in a mahogany casket?
Right.
How does the immortal genius actually die?
That is the ultimate irony of the billionaire biohacker. He dies of a pulmonary embolism,
A blood clot.
a sudden, unpredictable blood clot. And he dies in an ice bath in a private home in the Guadalest Valley in Spain.
He and Mac were out there for a highly secretive, high-stakes meeting. They were always talking about something huge, radical, life-changing.
They're hyping it up.
Those were the buzzwords they threw around to describe whatever new frontier they were conquering.
But biology doesn't care about buzzwords. A microscopic clot travels to his lungs, and the system crashes.
Boom. Done.
A very human, very biological failure that all the money in the world couldn't predict in that exact moment. Which leads us to the aftermath and the spectacle of the funeral itself.
Let's head inside that Gothic sandstone cathedral.
Oh.
Because the atmosphere here is not one of family mourning.
No, not at all.
There's not a group of loved ones gathering to share memories. This is a highly controlled, tightly managed corporate event. And the architect orchestrating this entire spectacle is a woman named Louisa Long.
Louisa Long is arguably the most fascinating figure in this entire narrative, and we need to look closely at her trajectory.
I agree completely.
She has been with Barney and Mac since the very beginning, since the famous garden shed days of their startup, when they were just brilliant, arrogant, genius teens building code. Louisa was the little girl next door.
She literally brought them snacks. She tidied their shed, and as they grew, she just took over their administration. She made herself so incredibly useful that she became indispensable to the operation of their lives.
And notice how she is referred to. People rarely call her just Louisa. It's almost always her full name, Louisa Long.
It's true, like a brand name.
It's as if she is an institution or a proprietary tool rather than a person. Honey actually notes that Louisa Long doesn't seem to like anyone, and Barney used to joke that she wasn't a people person, despite theoretically being a person.
Right.
Honey confesses that when they first met, she genuinely thought Louisa was a bot. Her efficiency was so cold and inhuman.
That is such a critical detail. They treated her like a machine. They relied on her completely to manage their vast empire, but they viewed her as a piece of infrastructure.
Just running in the background.
She was the operating system. You don't view your operating system as a threat or a peer. You just expect it to execute commands.
And at the funeral, Louisa is in full execution mode.
Right.
She is tracking Honey's Uber on her tablet. She's signaling security to move barricades. She is assigning specific seating. Please follow the seating plan, she keeps insisting.
But Honey, perhaps emboldened by the sheer shock of the day, rebels in a very quiet but incredibly significant way.
Yeah.
Instead of sitting where the corporate seating plan dictates the grieving widow should sit, Honey defies Louisa and walks straight to the front row to sit with Barney's 3 previous wives.
The Ex-Wives Club. This is undoubtedly my favorite part of the story.
It is so good.
It is a masterful visual and thematic moment. Let's break down who these women are, because they aren't just background characters. They represent the different phases of Barney's life, his ego, and his desperate need to categorize the women he conquered.
Okay, lay it out.
First, we have Rita.
Rita is the OG, the first wife.
Right.
She's completely unimpressed by the spectacle of the cathedral. She's wearing a floral black smock and sensible flat shoes. She wears absolutely no makeup.
She don't care at all.
Not a bit. The text describes her as stridently good. She took her massive divorce settlement and does behind-the-scenes philanthropic work.
And there are those rumors.
Yes. The lingering rumors that Rita actually helped build the very first groundbreaking software that made Barney rich. Even though she never pursued a career in it, she sees right through the BS.
Then there is Meredith, the second wife. Meredith represents his phase of engaging with formidable intellect.
Yeah.
She is wearing a sharp, intimidating silk pantsuit and pearls. She's now a senior government AI ethics advisor.
Which is fascinating, given what we know Barney is up to.
Exactly. Barney used to dismiss her as an angry feminist after their divorce. She shares twin boys with him.
And finally, Svetlana, the third wife.
Oh, Svetlana.
Svetlana is an absolute force of nature. She's wearing leather gloves, bright red lipstick, and a veiled black hat so massive it's described as the size of a bicycle wheel.
Huge.
Honey literally has to keep swerving her head just to avoid getting hit by it in the pew. Svetlana is the wild card. She is the one who completely ignores the ironclad NDAs.
She just doesn't care.
She gives interviews to the press whenever she feels like it, and she famously, publicly, called Barney a terrible father but a wonderful lover.
Now, look at how Barney handled these women while he was alive. His strategy was classic divide and conquer.
Keep them separated.
He told Honey that Meredith and Svetlana absolutely hated each other. He isolated them from one another, categorized them, and rigidly controlled the narrative about them.
Yeah.
Meredith was just the angry feminist. Svetlana was mad as a cut snake. Rita was stridently good. He reduced incredibly complex, brilliant women to simple, two-dimensional tropes. He put them in boxes.
But the moment he is dead, that control snaps.
Instantly.
They immediately form a united front.
Yeah.
The four of them sitting shoulder to shoulder in the front row is this massive, undeniable visual dismantling of Barney's ego.
And his mother hates it.
Oh, Barney's mother is sitting across the aisle, looking like an angry Christmas tree festooned in rubies, and she is furious. She hisses at them that they are making a spectacle of themselves.
But Honey pushes back.
She does. Instead of apologizing, Honey says she thinks Barney would like to see them all together, the mothers of his children.
To which Louisa Long, ever the enforcer of Barney's will, replies, no, he wouldn't.
And Honey, taking her first real step into her own power, simply replies, well, I'd like it.
It's a small sentence, but it's the beginning of Honey reclaiming her voice.
Yeah?
And as they sit there in this unified front, Svetlana spots something odd. She points out a strange man standing at the side of the cathedral, arguing heatedly with Mac and Louisa Long.
Right. An attractive, olive-skinned, Spanish-looking man. He looks to be in his late 20s or early 30s. He has a distinct dimple, thick, dark hair, and he's standing there under a stained glass window that is dappling him in this heavenly light.
Like an angel.
Right. The wives naturally start speculating. Who is this guy causing a scene at the funeral? Honey thinks he might be an actor she saw in some European drama series. Svetlana assumes he's a blackmailer coming for a payout.
And
Meredith, ever the cynic, thinks he's a secret love child.
But then the man catches Honey's eye across the cathedral. And he makes a very quick, very specific gesture. He plays the chords of an invisible air guitar.
Which is so bizarre. Who locks eyes with a grieving widow at a funeral and plays air guitar?
It makes no sense out of context.
But if you remember, Honey mentioned a detail earlier in the text.
Yeah.
She mentioned that Barney used to play air guitar naked out of the shower. It was a quirk of his. He even won an air guitar competition back in college.
Right.
It's a highly specific, deeply ingrained trait of Barney Beckett.
And this brings us to the reception at the city's best hotel, where the sci-fi elements of Moriarty's story crash headlong into reality. Honey is exhausted. She's standing there, and the strange Spanish man approaches her and offers her a glass of champagne.
At first, she still doesn't put it together. She thinks he's a vulture journalist trying to get an exclusive quote.
Yeah.
He makes an observation. He tells her she didn't cry at the funeral. Then he drops the bomb. He says, it's me. Honey, it's me.
And Honey feels this overwhelming, terrifying wave of familiarity. It's the cadence of his voice, the specific way he looks at her, but her rational mind rejects it. It's impossible.
Totally impossible.
Until Rita, the first wife, marches over and physically intervenes. She literally feels the man's fingers off Honey's arm.
Rita, who has known him the longest, who perhaps helped build his first code, figures it out instantly.
She sees the code.
She recognizes the underlying data beneath the physical shell. She recognizes the smirk, the arrogant swagger, the pretentious way he eats with his little finger sticking out.
Yeah.
She looks at Honey and says, it's Barney. He did it. He hacked death.
And there is the twist we were waiting for. They didn't just cure aging, they achieved electronic transcendence. Mind uploading.
Unbelievable.
Barney's consciousness was successfully saved to the cloud and downloaded into a human body. The host body belongs to a man named Santiago Rodriguez.
And Barney is so casual about it.
So casual.
He mentions that their ultimate goal is to transfer his consciousness into a custom-built humanoid robot. But they just haven't perfected the robotics yet. So he's just borrowing a human body in the meantime.
The ethical implications of this are staggering, and Moriarty doesn't shy away from them. Rita immediately calls it exactly what it is. She says, that's effectively murder.
Right.
Where is Santiago's consciousness? Has it been overwritten, deleted? Barney has zero moral qualms about erasing another human being's existence just so he can attend his own funeral and continue his empire.
He doesn't even think about it.
He just pats Rita on the shoulder the way you would patronize a child, and dismisses her ethical concerns as her intellect being held back by reductive thinking.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though, because despite achieving this godlike technological feat, the master plan has a fatal flaw.
It does.
And it's not a glitch in the code, it's a glitch in Barney's character. He tries to prove his identity beyond a doubt to Honey and Rita by referencing highly intimate, highly specific memories.
Yeah, he lists them off.
He starts rapid-firing these facts at Honey. You're only ticklish behind your left knee. You hate the smell of lavender. River preferred to feed from your left breast.
And then he delivers the final proof. He says, our first kiss was underwater.
And Honey stops him. She looks at him and corrects him. She says, our first kiss was on a mountaintop in Japan, you idiot.
Oh, man.
You first kissed Meredith underwater when you were snorkeling in the Seychelles. He completely, confidently confuses the foundational memories of his own wives.
This is such a brilliant, incisive narrative choice. Barney possesses the ultimate technology. He has conquered the biological boundary of death.
Right.
He has successfully transferred the terabytes of data that make up his mind, but his data is fundamentally corrupted. And why is it corrupted?
Why?
Because of his narcissism.
He viewed his wives as interchangeable accessories.
Yeah.
They were just mirrors designed to reflect his own greatness. Because he lacked genuine emotional connection, because he lacked basic empathy, he didn't actually encode his memories of them accurately. He just jumbled all of their traits, their quirks, their first kisses into one generalized wife folder in his brain.
He treated the actual women in his life exactly like the AI dating bots we discussed at the beginning.
Yes.
They were programmed to please, but ultimately they weren't fully real to him. And because he didn't value them as distinct, independent individuals, the upload of his consciousness is flawed by his own arrogance.
It's incredible.
It raises a profound philosophical question about what actually constitutes a human identity. If you remove connection, empathy, and accurate emotional memory, what data is actually left to upload?
Just a swagger and a naked air guitar routine.
Pretty much.
It's pathetic.
Oh.
But his arrogance is about to collide with reality in a spectacular way. While Barney is busy hitting on his own widow, whispering in Honey's ear that he's younger than her now and they have a whole new life ahead of them, the reception is interrupted.
By Louisa Long.
Yes. Louisa Long hurries over. And for the first time in the entire story, Louisa Long is panicking. She says they have a massive problem.
The doors open and a Spanish detective arrives. A woman carrying an aura of unassailable authority, backed by a full tactical police unit, officers in bulletproof vests, face shields carrying weapons.
At a billionaire's funeral reception.
Right. They march into this gathering, and they are looking for one person, Santiago Rodriguez. He is wanted for a homicide in Spain.
Let's connect the dots here because the implication is brilliant. Barney died of a pulmonary embolism in an ice bath in Spain.
Right.
Santiago's body was clearly used in that same location to facilitate the consciousness transfer. So from the perspective of the local Spanish authorities, Santiago Rodriguez was found at the scene of the billionaire's death.
They think Santiago murdered Barney Beckett.
It is the most perfect, inescapable knot of legal and existential trouble.
And Barney is suddenly genuinely terrified. The police grab him. The man who thought he was a god is suddenly just a suspect in a physical body. He holds up his hands, flashing that charming dimple, and tries to lie his way out. He says, whatever this Santiago has done, it wasn't me. Tell them, honey. You tell them who I am.
And the power shift in this exact moment is absolute. The Spanish detective turns to Honey, the grieving widow, and asks, you know him.
This is the climax of Honey's entire character arc. Time slows down. Honey freezes.
What goes through her head?
She looks at this handsome young man projecting her dead husband's arrogant swagger. She sees Barney, stripped of his power, begging for the loyalty he explicitly refused to give her. She remembers Rita asking if he ever told her the other women were for medicinal purposes only.
She remembers how she systematically learned to play them, how she allowed her personality to be ironed out, how she stopped speaking her mind to become his perfect reflection.
Yeah.
She remembers waking up with her hands clenched in repressed fury. And the text describes a physical sensation. Honey feels power rushing through her body. She is surging back to life.
It's a rebirth.
She looks the detective right in the eye, points at the man holding her husband's mind, and says, I don't know this man. I've never met him.
It is the ultimate rejection. She denies his existence. Barney tilts his head, and for a fraction of a second, there's a flare of genuine pain and betrayal in his eyes.
He actually feels it.
But then it's gone because his narcissistic programming simply cannot process it. He tries to bluff the cops himself. This is going to sound strange, but I'm Barney Beckett, he says.
Good luck with that.
The detective is completely unimpressed. She just says, sure you are, Santiago, let's go.
As the police drag him out of his own funeral reception, Barney is shouting over his shoulder. He's trying to remain calm, but he's irritable. He's calling for his co-founder. Where's Mac? We need to get this sorted out.
But Mac is nowhere to be seen.
Which leads us to the final, masterful reveal of the story. the true mastermind working behind the scenes.
Oh, this part is brilliant.
Honey is standing there with the three ex-wives, Rita, Meredith, and Svetlana. And they aren't looking at Barney being dragged away. They're looking past Honey, toward the exit of the hotel. They're watching Louisa Long.
Louisa Long is hurrying out, slipping on her coat, talking urgently on her phone, all business, and Meredith, the AI ethics advisor, drops the bombshell on the group. She says, Mac told me he's been asked to step aside. Irregularities have come to light.
Let's track Louisa Long's movements because she executed a flawless corporate coup. She told Barney earlier in the cathedral, "We did all the checks, I promise you." But did she?
Think about who Louisa Long is.
She is the woman who checks every single detail. The woman whose efficiency is inhuman. Is it possible she accidentally selected a host body that was wanted for murder?
Absolutely not. She deliberately set up a faulty background check on Santiago. She is almost certainly the one who tipped off the Spanish police about the location of the host body and the death of the original Barney.
She orchestrated the entire collapse. She ousted the founders simultaneously.
It's genius.
Barney is trapped in a borrowed body, being extradited to a Spanish prison for his own murder, where no one will ever believe he is a downloaded billionaire. And Mac is forced out of the company over manufactured irregularities.
Yeah.
Louisa Long, the little girl who tidied their garden shed, who brought them snacks, who they treated like a piece of office furniture for decades. She is taking over the entire empire.
As Rita says, watching her walk away, those boys would never have achieved anything without her. It completely shatters the great man theory of Silicon Valley.
Completely.
These tech titans build myths around themselves, believing they are solitary geniuses conjuring the future. But they are entirely propped up by the invisible labor of the people around them, usually women.
Right.
They were so focused on conquering death, on looking at the horizon of eternity, that they completely ignored the brilliant, calculating woman standing right next to them, managing their schedules and holding the keys to the server. They underestimated her, just as Barney underestimated his wives.
And Moriarty leaves us with this final image that is just cinematic perfection. The four wives, Rita, Meredith, Svetlana, and Honey, standing together, realizing exactly what Louisa has accomplished. Together, as one united front, they lift their champagne glasses high in a silent toast. And Louisa, pausing at the door, gives them a single, acknowledging nod before walking away to run the world.
It's an incredible moment of solidarity. The invisible women, the wives who were traded in for newer models, the assistant who was treated like an algorithm, they're the ones left standing holding the entire kingdom.
It's a masterclass in weaving high-concept science fiction with very grounded, emotional, domestic drama.
For sure. The futuristic technology is really just a magnifying glass for timeless human flaws.
Yeah.
The central conflict isn't about the mechanics of an epigenetic clock or the viability of electronic transcendence. It's about control, ego, and the deeply transactional nature of relationships among the ultra-elite.
And Honey's personal journey is so deeply satisfying. She goes from being someone who literally selected quiet preferred in an Uber because she was afraid of her own voice, someone who apologized constantly for glitching, to a woman who looks heavily armed police in the eye and effectively deletes her tyrannical husband from the world with one sentence.
She reclaims her autonomy.
She does.
This raises an important question for you, the listener, to reflect on as we wrap up this deep dive. It's a question about the fundamental nature of value.
Okay.
The men in the story, Barney and Mac, valued themselves so highly that they believed their consciousness deserved to be preserved for eternity. They viewed their minds as priceless, irreplaceable data.
Right.
But they systematically, completely undervalued the women around them. They viewed them as interchangeable, as medicinal, as mere administrative tools. And that absolute blindness to the value and agency of others wasn't just a character flaw. It was their ultimate catastrophic undoing.
They successfully hacked death, but they couldn't hack basic human empathy. And it cost them literally everything, which leaves us with a really provocative final thought. Something for you to mull over long after this deep dive ends, next time you are reading up on the latest tech billionaire trying to live forever.
Think about the premise of mind uploading.
Right. If you successfully upload your consciousness into a brand new body, a pristine biological vessel, but the world refuses to recognize you, the law denies your identity. Your loved ones look you right in the eye and say, "I have never met you." And the people you used to control refuse to obey your commands. Do you actually exist at all? Or are you just a ghost screaming trapped inside someone else's machine?
It's a chilling thought. Because without connection, without recognition from our fellow human beings, all the data in the world might not add up to a life.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into Liane Moriarty's The Price of Honey. We hope you enjoyed unpacking this wild, wonderful story and exploring the hidden costs of forever. Keep reading, keep questioning, and we'll catch you on the next deep dive.